Hello together and welcome to my channel. So today I already did this video once, but I wasn't satisfied because I made too many mistakes. So I want to do it again. And so the spark for this video was that I watched an interview with Robert Kiyosaki, and I put the link in the description. And in this video he talks about many things. He talks about how the central banks print money and how if you know the laws, then you can become rich just like him. And he keeps saying that what he did is fair because the laws are the same for everyone. And that if you don't know the game, then, or if you don't play the game right, then you will lose, like something like that. And so I get the impression from him that he looks at, and maybe that's right, I don't know, but he looks at life like a game, and he just says, well, the laws are what they are, so better understand them well and make the most of it. And it's not unfair because everybody could understand the laws and do the same thing that I do. So I think he explained how he once took a loan for $300 million to buy a lot of real estate after the housing market had crashed. And then all this real estate went up in price, and so he earned a lot of money and he didn't pay any tax on it. And he talks about two things that he said people need to understand, which is debt and taxes. And I'm just kind of giving you a broad idea. I would recommend to watch the video yourself because he can explain all his stuff better than I can. But the thing that I got from him was that he isn't really at all concerned with whether the law is ethical or not. So he just says basically, yeah, it's the law, the law is the same for everybody, so you should just learn how to use it and then you can become crazy rich. And that might be true, but my main focus is not how can you exploit the law as it currently is to get rich, which is a fair question, but my main focus is what should the just law actually be? Because I'm interested in ethics, and there are two schools of law basically, and one school is kind of, which is the one that I subscribe to, is the natural law school. So this is the idea that the true law is not invented, but it is kind of discovered. It is like science. So from human characteristics, from human interaction, you can basically, if you understood it well enough, which is really difficult, you could extract a description of what the actual rules of fair conduct and fair behavior towards other human beings and animals and objects are, and then you could write these rules down and they would be the proper law. So that's the idea, that there is some kind of natural law and we humans are trying to find it. And then there is the opposing view that is basically the view that the law is just a tool that can be manipulated by politicians or lawyers or like the rulers of society in order to achieve their desired end. So basically, this second idea is that you can just use the law as a tool to form society the way you want it to be or to become. And of course, this leads to conflict because maybe two different groups of people have a different idea of how a society should become, and so they want to change the law in a different way, and so then that leads to conflict. But the idea is, well, yeah, then you just have to be smarter than your opponent. Smarter or stronger or more powerful or have better connections. And so I see, and in Robert Kiyosaki, I see kind of, he just accepts the law as it is. He just says, well, the law is the way it is, I can't change it, but I'm sure as hell going to use it. And so he is really knowledgeable about the law. He knows all the tax exemptions for real estate and how he can make tricks to earn a lot of money and not pay any taxes, which is good to know, I guess, because if these loopholes are there, then it's not fair if only a small minority of people use them, so it would be more fair if everybody uses them. So I think it's a good thing to inform yourself about these things, but the actual question for me is, what is ethically the right thing to do? What is good and what is evil? And it doesn't have to do with what is law or what is not law, because those can be two different things. And I think in our society, they are two different things to a quite large extent. Like, there are other societies that are worse, maybe most other societies are worse, but still in our current Western societies, I feel there is a huge gap between what is just, what is right, fair, or what has to do with fairness and justice, and what is in the law. And so my goal is to close this gap, because I would like to see, and I think it would be the best thing for society as a whole, if the laws were actually just and fair, or at least as close as they can possibly be. Because then I think people would be maximally incentivized to do the right thing and maximally disincentivized from doing the wrong thing. And that would lead to the best possible society. And it is my personal goal to find out what actually is good and evil, so that we can then maybe advance in understanding what should the law be, because the law should basically be informed by ethics, and the law is not just a tool to force people to do what you want, because as we said, that leads to conflict and that leads to violence in the end. And yeah, and so one special example that stuck out from this video, because I know this because I have investigated it a fair deal a couple of years ago. Like, I was quite obsessed with this topic, and this is the topic of central banks printing money. And so I just want to go into this for the second half of this video, because I think it's so important that you can never talk about it too much. Because to me, this is like the biggest fraud or the biggest scam or injustice in that I know of. Let's put it that way. It's the biggest scam and biggest crime that I know of, because it's, you see, we have to use money in a complex economy in order for the economy to even function. And so people use money to measure the relative value of different goods and different services. Because, yeah, we won't go into that. I have an article on this. It's called, I think, Perfect Money, where I touch on some of these ideas. I will put the link in the description. So, but a complex economy has to have money as a basis so that we can that we can compare the value of different objects and different services. Now, we used to, for a very long time, have gold and silver coins as money. And the good thing about that is that gold and silver are physically limited. But then at some point we introduced the paper money. Like the paper money was just a receipt on which it said you have so and so much gold in the bank. But instead of carrying the gold around, you would just carry the paper around because it's lighter. But then, I think in around 1970, the US definitely departed from the gold standard. And if you go and take a look at the gold price, like from that point on, the gold price just starts growing exponentially. And why is that? Because as the dollar was no longer tied to any physical commodity, the Central Bank of America, and it's the same for every currency, it's the same with the euro, it's the same with the Swiss franc, it's the same with the yen, like for every currency, because today there is, I think, no currency that is on the gold standard. The central banks of these countries just started printing money, because why the hell not? You can print it just like you pay the price of paper, but you can spend it at the price of gold initially. But then what happens is, as more and more money starts circulating, because of supply and demand, the actual purchasing power of your money goes down. And so as this continues, like over time, the purchasing power of your money gets decreased. And that just goes on forever. And this, in my perception, and please correct me if you can, in my perception, this is just basically theft. It's a super high advanced form of theft, because you don't steal the actual money from a person. Like all the Swiss francs that I have here in my wallet, they stay in my wallet. The number on my bank account stays the same. But the amount of goods that I can purchase with this money that I own keeps decreasing every year. And that's because of the law of supply and demand. And many people haven't woken up to that fact yet. And I think it's absolutely appalling. It's really a crime. You steal from everyone that works and everyone that saves money, because every time you keep money and you don't spend it, they just keep taking away the purchasing power of that money. And so your wage this month is worth a little bit more than your wage will be the next month because of inflation. And because it takes a long while for the effect of inflation to really reach the end consumer, to really notice that the prices have gone up, it's quite hard to see this. It's very hidden, but still central banks print money and steal that money from people that work and save. And to me, this is absolutely hideous, and I think it destabilizes the economy. It makes people nervous. It makes people invest all their money in the stock market where they have no clue what the stock market is. And then some of them win, some of them lose. It makes people nervous. It makes them afraid to lose their money. And of course, in the end, they do. And there are a huge amount of people that have specialized in one way or another to profit from this crime that is going on in our society. And I think this is one of the main reasons, this is one of the big reasons why some people get rich and some people just can't seem to get ahead. Because, yeah, if you... So, the first people that profit are the central banks themselves, because they print money. Then, they give this money to the banks in order to lend it out or do something with it, so the banks also profit. Then there are people who are like professional traders that profit from the fact that the average citizen is scared to lose his money, so he wants to invest in the stock market, but he doesn't know exactly what he's doing, and he also doesn't have the time to get informed because he has to work every day, and so he puts his money in the stock market, but he doesn't really know how to take care of it, and so the professional trader can kind of play the differences, play the whatever, like the changes, the bubbles, and basically get rich while other people that work every day get poor. And there are many other, yeah, I can't think just now of another example, but I think it's maybe some examples will come to me and I will just insert them here. But yeah, this is just, to me, it's, yeah, I've repeated it often enough, but I really think this is absolutely and basically evil. It's stealing from people that work. And I think that this is something that we really should fix as a society. And if we don't fix it, then we will pay the price, because if the incentive is bigger to juggle around with like numbers or real estate or stock markets or different currencies or whatever, then the incentive is bigger to kind of buy something, keep it, and then sell it and make a profit. And I don't have something against trade itself, but I have something against forcing people into it that don't actually want to be there and then ripping them off. And so if you can earn a lot of money by ripping off people that work, then more people will start ripping off and less people will actually go and work on a productive job and produce an actual good. And in the long run, this just leads to a situation where our society as a whole produces less goods, and that just means that the standard of living either decreases or doesn't increase as fast as it would otherwise. Because in the end, every good that someone consumes has to be produced. I mean, yeah, you know that you can't just walk into the forest and find a gourmet meal. Like, the gourmet meal has to be cooked and the ingredients have to be produced, and the energy and the tools and the kitchen has to be built. Like, all this stuff has to be produced. These are actual goods that require work to produce. And so if you disincentivize people within a society to produce goods and you incentivize them instead to go and try rip each other off, then that doesn't turn out well in the long run. And so yeah, these are just a couple of my thoughts that were cruising around in my head. I hope the second take was better than the first one. And yeah, please let me know what you think. Write a comment, make a video response, whatever. I will watch it if you make one. And thanks for watching. So take care. Bye.